So the burden on this is on Tom. Tom must prove that the biblical God exists. I'm not convinced. That is my position. Tom is certain. I reject his certainty. I reject his premise. I'm not offering my own. It's not up to me to disprove the existence of an omnipotent, omniscient, supernatural being that first appeared like maybe 3,000 years ago after 13.7 billion years of the universe existing. And then he did it in a tiny region that comprises less than 0.1% of the surface of the third planet from a random star, and that God's primary manifestations were a burning bush and a human sacrifice that he took a mulligan on. That God didn't appear to the most sophisticated civilizations on Earth, but in a mostly illiterate area so that those people could record his tales in a variety of 50 or 66 or 100 disparate books that are full of contradictions and errors, and for which we have few originals and hundreds of different modern translations. Tom has to prove that. And an extraordinary claim like that requires extraordinary evidence. But there's no evidence to suggest that a God exists. So I don't hold that belief. That's my position. That's the atheist position. This is skepticism, not cynicism. And it's the same skeptical inquiry you make with regard to unicorns or leprechauns or other gods. You don't believe because there is no reason to, and you're not afraid to say so. And remember, Tom has to prove not that a God exists, but that his specific God, which is only mentioned in this one book, exists. And so while I don't need to disprove the biblical God, by definition, his God actually can't exist. Square circles can't exist, nor can triangles that have four sides. And the biblical God, by definition, is impossible. God is all powerful, but he can't defeat chariots of iron. Judges 1. God doesn't lie. Numbers, Psalms, Hebrews. But God lies. 1 Kings, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. God loves everyone, John, but he hates people too. Psalms, Proverbs, Leviticus, Romans. Right? The God of the Bible is inherently contradictory, a square circle. It can't exist. Now, Tom may tap dance around these contradictions and try to square that circle, but once he admits that parts of the Bible aren't literally true, he's done. Because the only evidence for the God of the Bible is the Bible. And that's not evidence for God's existence any more than the Harry Potter books are for Voldemort's existence. The biblical God is a character from fiction. And from a fiction that was written at a time when humans didn't know very much. We didn't know about germs or cells, or that the Earth was a spinning ball orbiting a star 92 million miles away. Most people thought it was just fine to own another human being, as biblical law reflects. And that's an important point, right? It's a good thing that the God of the Bible doesn't exist. The God of the Bible is a tyrant, an authoritarian. He kills wantonly, commits genocide. In the Ten Commandments, he promises to punish innocent children to the third and fourth generation. In the Ten Commandments, he permits slavery twice. This God actually spends a lot of time on the finer points of owning another human being. He tortures Job, a, quote, blameless and upright man, without any reason. Job 2:3. The God of the Bible, the character is not moral or good. And Jesus is little better, right? Hell, eternal torture for a finite crime is cruel and unusual. And the sacrifice of Jesus, vicarious redemption through human sacrifice, is also immoral. The death of another person absolves you of nothing. You must take personal responsibility for your actions. We teach all our children this, and it's immoral to say otherwise. My position is that there's no evidence and no good reason or argument to justify a belief in the biblical God. And everybody listening agrees with regard to every God except perhaps the one they were told to believe in as a child. And they hold that position after less investigation and reading an original text and philosophy. I've read the Bible many times. The road to atheism is littered with Bibles that have been read cover to cover. You're perfectly happy and willing to conclude that Thor and Vishnu and Voldemort don't exist. You even reject holy books and philosophical riddles as evidence that those gods exist. That position you hold is the same one I hold with regard to your God. So if you can understand why you don't believe in those gods and how silly it is to try to have to defend that lack of belief in the face of this evidentiary inadequacy, you begin to understand my position in this debate. So summon the courage to turn that same skepticism on the beliefs that you hold to, even if you've held them for a long time, because they are no different. Thank you.